Well, good afternoon, world. I'm coming at you December 27th, 2015. Not quite 16 yet. And towards the end of the year here, kind of wrapping up some of my thoughts pertaining to, the things that I've learned and maybe the processes that I've accomplished and the processes that I'm still working on in life. I guess this video would be addressed if I were going to try to lay out a title for it. I guess it would have to do with the gems of wisdom versus, well, let's just say that often when we talk about knowledge and awareness, it's pictured as these, gems of wisdom, or that's golden, using these metaphors to describe something. And I was kind of thinking of that metaphor for seeking alchemical knowledge or the occult, hidden, various, mystery school teachings and whatnot. Some of these things that cannot be quite understood through discovery. In other words, rather than thinking of these gems of wisdom as gems of wisdom, or rather than thinking it's like digging for gold or discovering some bit of knowledge, think of it more as discovering a harvest. A harvest isn't discovered. A harvest can be created through work and sowing seeds. So rather than thinking that there's some hidden awareness that we're going to be taught, we start to realize that it's a collection of knowledge that makes us who we are, and gives us the knowledge that we need to, seek deeper. There's a threshold where people have to cross before you can get to the down and dirty and really start seeking truth, in my opinion. And that gate is kind of an impasse for some people, because that first gate is seeing yourself for who you are. This means that everything you do in life, you have to see yourself as the observer. And I've only been doing this for about 5 years now. I've always seen myself and observed myself from the outside, but becoming completely conscious of myself at all times, it's not something that I have reached yet, but a majority of the time I'm aware of myself and what I'm doing. If I react to someone or something, I don't just chalk it up to, oh well, that's how I feel. I analyze my thoughts, and I wonder about them, and I wonder why I am the way I am. And this honesty has helped me to understand myself much better, and there's nothing I really feel like I need to hide. And I think that that's a majorly important obstacle to cross. For example, I've heard a lot of people speak about various, subjects, philosophy, knowledge, wisdom, awareness, and many folks believe that there's this certain type of a person you have to be to obtain this knowledge. It's similar to thinking that you have to be a certain way to be psychic or to become a healer or any of these things. If you believe in these things, my belief is that the energy is there for anyone who wants to take it. It's just that you have to learn it. And it's akin to math class, Yes, there are calculus problems that could help you out in your life when you're trying to come to a conclusion. But until you understand the basic math behind that, you can't do calculus. And the same way with many of these deeper understandings of the self and the practices of metaphysical or occult practices, it's not something you just jump into and do. Of course you can, for example, something like a Ouija board. I mean, anybody who's done one of those, you don't really have to be an expert to get some interesting results. But there's always the what if, because you're with other people. And if you're, doing it as a group, which most people do the first time they do it, very few people would grab a Ouija board their first time and just do it by themselves. But, it's kind of a party favor until you start to see that there's something going on there. That there seems to be a hidden truth, many hidden truths that are based in these recurring cycles. And often when I've heard people speak about these things, they put on this image as if they're these people who understand something great. Reading many philosophers and speakers on the subject, they're very passionate, and they seem very aware of what they're talking about, and they very much believe it. But just because a person believes something does not make it true, and that makes it difficult to sort through. A person is not necessarily lying if they're wrong. They just may think that they're right. For me, the reason I'm smoking pot here is because I kind of have a hang-up about cannabis that isn't based on anything particular the way I feel about it, but rather society's image of it and how it's been impressed upon me. How I grew up being told that, pot makes you stupid, pot lowers sperm count, pot makes you dumb. And all the while I sat there and thought, are they right? Is it true? Is it true? But after smoking cannabis for 25 years, I guess it's all I know. But I have quit for a couple of years. A few years back, I quit for 2 years and didn't find myself to have be any more functional, coherent. In other words, the image is hard impressed upon me that people look at cannabis as a negative thing. Very well-meaning people out there who, let's say, are listening to this video, they'd be listening along, and then they see me all of a sudden smoke pot, and their first thought might be, oh boy, that guy's a stoner. Don't listen to what he's saying. And I guess that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. We listen or don't listen to people's opinions based on whether or not we think they have it together. And if a person thought that I was just a person who smoked marijuana all the time and never did anything with myself and just got stuck in my own mind and deluded circular and didn't actually apply any of my philosophies to life, well, they would be right in saying, well, I don't have to listen to this guy. I shouldn't listen to this guy. And that's, and you probably shouldn't. You should probably turn off the video now because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've come to this point where I'm in control of my emotions and I'm in control of my reactions. And sometimes when someone says something that gets to me, let's say I feel it, and I really, if it irritates me, it really bothers me, it's usually done and over within 5 minutes. 5 minutes is about the longest I hold on to any type of resentment or animosity. Looking back 5 years, I could have hung on to it for hours. Looking back when I was younger, I could have held on to it for days, if not months. I mean, I had somebody who had wronged me and I couldn't let it go. And it's because I felt like, well, if instant karma ain't gonna get him, then I'm gonna. And it's because at the point I realized I didn't trust in nature to take care of business. I realized that by seeking revenge or trying to prove myself, what I was doing was I wasn't trusting that the universe would take care of its own, if you will. I wasn't trusting that, not necessarily just trusting. There's two aspects to this. One reason why I sought revenge, I had someone who had wronged me one time and I went looking for him and I was just so upset about it because he'd ripped me off. And I realized one of them is pride factor. Somebody wronged me. And once I let that go later, you realize the me in me really is nothing. But then you move back to a point where you realize that you can't abandon the ego completely. You can't just say, oh, well, the universe will take care of everything and I just trust that everything's fine and I don't need to put in any effort. You start to realize that your ego is important to who you are. So the ego is kind of the joke that's toyed with in various alchemical traditions when you're trying to understand the physical versus the mental and these different layers of reality, I guess. The ones that we can prove and the ones that we can't prove. And I realize that when I'm defending myself or when I'm getting upset about something, when I'm resenting, when I'm holding in things, those emotions are a result of either A, my distrust in society, which is why I stopped trusting people for so long, or B, a feeling of being out of control or not sure. And I think this is society's problem as a whole. We feel like we're out of control and no one's steering the ship. So we've created these illusions in our minds. One of them is religion. And we create an entire story based on our principles, our values, and what we think is right. These universal truths. Things like the Ten Commandments. I mean, yeah, some of them are obviously true. You don't want to murder or steal or, take from your neighbor, but some of them, like taking the Lord's name in vain, those kind of things are irrelevant. It's not a matter of that those things are really sins. The reason why they were considered so important is it's a symbol, a metaphor of saying, don't take yourself for granted and assume that your ego is superior to the grand architect or the all. And by saying that, many people associate or think I'm insinuating, say there's a God. I guess I would say that, if anything, it was Pascal's God that Einstein believed in, which was the pantheist type God, but not pantheism as a belief itself, but rather the belief that me and you are part of God, as well as the Kindle that I'm recording through, and the bong that I was holding in my hand, and every wisp of smoke that flows. These are all parts of this grand picture. These molecules coming into existence for some purpose or no purpose, but here we are. It's the grand philosophies that you could sit and ponder forever, but it comes down to the free will, determinism, and is there really a purpose to everything? Is there a purpose to everything? Does everything really have a purpose and a reason? As much as I'd like to believe that reincarnation is 100% true, and that the people who do wrong in this life will pay in the next life, or that if I don't, get my dues this life, then I'll get them in the next life. All these things are comfort food. It's a way for us to believe that things really are just and fair. It's a way for us to put a synthetic balance on life. And I'm saying that not because I disbelieve in reincarnation, but because I'm trying to understand it in a sense of the whole purpose, the wholeness of the universe, rather than just my shallow version of I want to live, that I want to carry myself on. So it's a matter of realizing there is a bigger picture, but that maybe we're not part of it as individuals. And that's okay. And that's one of the acceptances I think we have to make. It's not an easy one. We want to think that we're important. I mean, we were at the center of the universe for hundreds of years, or at least to some people. There are plenty around this world, when we say that in history they thought that the world was flat, or that we thought that the world was created in 7 days. No, that's not true. That was just a few we's. That was the societal norm. That was what, if people would say Americans are Christians, they would be assuming the 80% that are. But there were always people through history who had a deeper understanding, who didn't believe that dinosaur fossils were put here to test us, or that man harnessed and rode on the saddles of dinosaurs. And yeah, there's a creationist museum in, I think, Texas or something, where they actually have dinosaurs with saddles and people riding on them. And we've created a history to suit what we want to believe, because we can't fathom the vastness of history, the depth of it, the timelessness of it. And by putting a finite time on how long the earth has been here, it gives us a sense that there is a time that we can understand, and that everything's under control. Just the same reason why we have the God complex in the first place, that we can't just believe in a universal creator or existence. We have to believe in a personal God that cares about us, because we want to believe we're important. And this is, it's the human condition. If I dare say, it's actually the same reason why people become attached and obsessed about the elite conspiracies and the Illuminati thing. It's not because it's true or not true. All of the truth set aside, the reason why people become obsessed with it is because two reasons. A, distrust, and so we begin to distrust everyone because we've been wronged or lied to. Or B, there's that aspect of wanting to believe that someone's steering the ship, even if it is this small group of elite people who are lying to us and telling us, let's say, the earth is flat, and that the moon is a hologram, and that everything's all taken care of in its nice little box, and we're just being lied to. It's easier than saying that we're an honest species, that in general we are honest with one another, that the astronomers are honest, pilots are honest, that NASA really exists, that maybe there are lies in between there that are being perpetuated in order to keep people passive, because yes, people will panic if something big happens, but that these things, the true things that do happen, cannot be sorted out because people are afraid to believe one thing, and they're afraid they have to believe everything. I mean, yeah, there are people out there that believe that NASA is completely lying to us. I believe that NASA has lied to us, but I don't believe that they're lying 100%. I can't believe that the Voyager and all these spacecraft and these rovers are just a complete bunk setup to fool people. Why even go to the trouble? And here's the thing. Even if all of these beliefs are true, whether it be Illuminati or God or what a specific personal God or Jesus, how did any of these things, what's the bigger picture? Let's say that the earth is flat. Okay, so what's past that? Let's say the sky is a hologram. What's beyond that? The larger questions are never answered. Even if we can ask when the universe was born, we say what came before it. Even if we know when the universe is going to die, we ask what comes after it. We don't understand a vacuum without matter, and we don't understand matter without a vacuum to put it in. The only way we can understand matter is through creating dark matter and dark energy, 95% of it. And here we are, spinning on this big ball in space, doing our best to understand ourselves and our world. And by God, I think we might figure some of it out. But most of it remains to be seen, and it always will, because we don't have the capacity or capability to see beyond our 5-colored rainbow. I guess our 3 primary colors. Yep. Talk to you later.